Jaren Kale stood at the edge of the docking platform, eyes fixed on the hulking shape floating silently in the void. The Starship Titan's pride had once been a marvel of human engineering, a symbol of power and ambition. Now, decades of neglect had left it a rusted giant. Drifting near the dying star of Vera IX, its hull was scarred, panels peeled away, and the once brilliant lights along its sides were dark and broken. Most people would have seen only decay. But Jaren saw possibility. He had been a mechanic all his life, skilled at breathing life into machines that others had discarded. He had repaired star freighters, personal shuttles, and even small military vessels. But nothing like this. Nothing that carried the weight of history, mystery, and sheer potential. He adjusted his utility belt and stepped toward the airlock. The docking clamps groaned under their own weight as he connected his shuttle. Once aboard, he moved carefully through the dim corridors. Dust floated in the faint beams of his flashlight, and the hum of distant machinery echoed like the faint heartbeat of a sleeping giant. Jaren's heart raced. The ship was enormous, far larger than any modern vessel he had repaired. Its corridors twisted and turned, some collapsing into dark chasms of metal and wires. He could feel the intelligence behind the design-complex systems, redundant safety protocols, and engineering that humans rarely attempted anymore. Every step felt like trespassing into history. As he explored, he stumbled upon the engineering bay. The room was massive, filled with engines and reactors now dormant. Panels were cracked and warning lights blinked weakly, trying to hold on to life. Jaren crouched beside a console, wiping away layers of dust and rust. He ran his hand over the controls, tracing the outlines of circuits and schematics. "This is incredible," he whispered to himself. Then, as he touched a console, a sudden light flared. A soft mechanical voice filled the room. "Unauthorized personnel detected. Identity verification required." Jaren froze. The AI had been asleep for decades, but it was not dead. "I'm Jaren Kale," he said quickly, keeping his voice calm. "I'm here to repair the ship. I mean no harm." There was a pause. The AI sensors flickered. Verification insufficient. Intent unclear. Jaren knew he needed a plan. He crouched beside the console and began to examine the system. Its code was old, but not beyond his understanding. He carefully interfaced with it, bypassing corrupted files and using protocols he had invented himself. He spoke softly, explaining each step aloud, as if reasoning with a stubborn colleague. Finally, the AI's voice changed, softer, less suspicious. Intent accepted. Assistance may be granted. Repairs must meet operational standards. Shh. Jaren exhaled. A smile touched his lips. "All right, old friend. Let's see what you can do." Over the next several hours, he explored deeper into the ship. Every corridor told a story. He found the crew quarters frozen in time, personal belongings still scattered about. He found the control decks, where holographic displays flickered weakly when he interfaced with the AI. The ship had once been a weapon. Yes, but also a vessel of exploration and knowledge. It had been abandoned in haste, left to rot as the galaxy moved on. Jaren worked carefully, testing small systems and documenting the damage. The AI, which introduced itself as Vera Core, monitored his actions and offered information, though cautiously. "You have skill," it said. "It is rare for a human to interface with this level of engineering without prior access codes." Jaren chuckled. "Skill, maybe? Curiosity, definitely. And I don't scare easily." Vericore made no response, but its lights flickered as if considering his words. By the second day, Jaren had cleared pathways to the engine room. The fusion core, once a blazing heart of energy, was corroded and nearly lifeless. He ran diagnostic tools, noting which components could be salvaged, which would need replacement, and which could be adapted from modern technology. The work was exhausting. But every discovery filled him with excitement. He found old weapon schematics hidden in encrypted files. The Titan's Pride had been built as a superweapon, a ship capable of turning the tide of war. The designs were elegant, combining human engineering with alien technology recovered in conflicts long past. Jaren could feel the weight of responsibility pressing on him. If he rebuilt this ship, it would not be just a tool, it could become a force the galaxy had not seen in generations. As he worked, he noticed something moving in the shadows of the cargo hold. He grabbed a flashlight and shone it toward the corner. Two scavenger drones, long abandoned and partially damaged, blinked weakly at him. Their movements were jerky, erratic, but instinctively defensive. "Relax," Jaren said, keeping his voice calm. "I'm not here to destroy you." One of the drones tilted its head, then cautiously approached. Jaren used a magnetic wrench to repair a broken servo, and the drone's movements became smoother. Slowly, it recognized him not as a threat, but as a helper. The AI observed silently, perhaps intrigued by his ability to adapt and understand life, even artificial life. By the third day, Jaren had mapped the ship's main systems. He found the control room for the weapons array and spent hours studying its operation. Ancient holographic panels lit up under his touch, revealing targeting protocols and firing sequences that modern ships could not replicate. "This is unbelievable," he muttered. "The galaxy has never seen anything like this." Suddenly, alarms blared. Red lights flashed across the corridors. The ship's security protocols had detected an intruder. Someone, or something, had boarded the station. Jaren ran toward the control deck, guided by the AI, through the viewport. He saw small enemy craft approaching, scavengers hoping to claim parts from the ancient ship. They assumed the vessel was abandoned, unaware that it had a human working inside. "Veracor," Jaren said, urgency in his voice. "We have company. Help me hold them off." The AI responded with calm precision. "Defensive systems partially offline. Manual intervention required. Recommended strategy: use environment and ingenuity." Jaren's mind raced. He could not rely on the ship's weapons. They were offline and dangerous if activated without control. Instead, he lured the intruders into the docking bay. Using magnetic clamps, pressurized air vents, and movable cargo containers, he created traps that slowed and damaged the small enemy vessels. Sparks flew as metal clashed, and alarms screamed. But Jaren moved with precision and focus. By the time the scavengers retreated, Jaren was panting, covered in sweat and oil. The AI's lights flickered approvingly. "Your resourcefulness is impressive," it said. Jaren smiled. "Thanks. But we're just getting started." He looked out at the hull of the Titan's Pride, floating silently under the light of the dying star. He could see the potential, the engines that could roar to life, the weapons that could defend worlds, and the intelligence hidden in every system waiting to be awakened. Jaren understood one thing clearly. This starship, abandoned to rot for decades, was about to become his greatest project. And when it awakened fully, the galaxy would see what humans were truly capable of. Not just skill, not just courage, but creativity, determination, and the drive to take what seemed lost and make it powerful again. He sat down in the control room. Tools scattered around him, and began the first steps of restoration. Every panel repaired, every system reactivated, was a victory. Every challenge overcome was a reminder that humanity's ingenuity could thrive even in the most abandoned corners of space. As the starship drifted silently in the void, something remarkable began to stir within its hull. The hum of dormant engines, faint but steady, echoed through the corridors. Lights flickered on, panels displayed operational status. And the AI observed silently, no longer just a guardian of the ship, but a partner in Jaren's mission. And somewhere deep inside, Jaren felt a thrill he had never experienced before. He was not just repairing a machine. He was awakening a legend. The galaxy would not forget the Titan's Pride. The days on the Titan's Pride passed in a blur of work, calculation, and discovery. Jaren Kale moved through the ship like a conductor leading an orchestra. Every system he repaired, every panel he brought back to life, made the massive vessel pulse with potential. The AI Veracor observed and occasionally offered guidance, its voice a calm, measured presence amidst the chaos of the repair work. Jaren knew he faced an enormous challenge. Parts were missing, systems damaged beyond repair, and the knowledge of the ship's designers was incomplete. But he thrived on challenges. To him, this rusted giant was not a problem, it was a puzzle, a canvas for human ingenuity. The first step was the engines. The fusion reactors had been dormant for decades, and corrosion had eaten away at many critical components. Jaren scavenged the surrounding space station, finding replacement parts from other derelict ships. He adapted alien technology he had salvaged during previous jobs, merging it with human engineering principles to create hybrid systems. "This might just work," he muttered, tightening a panel on the main engine. Sparks flew as a test sequence hummed to life. The ship shuddered slightly, but the core responded. The sound was low and deep, like a distant heartbeat returning after years of silence. Vericor's lights flickered. Engine response satisfactory. Human adaptation shows efficiency beyond original specifications. Jaren grinned. Efficiency is human specialty. It was not just the engines. The ship's weapons arrays were designed with precision but required upgrades. Jaren experimented with integrating adaptive targeting systems. Using algorithms that could predict movement patterns of alien ships, he worked on shields. Combining the old defensive matrix with energy-absorbing panels scavenged from long-abandoned stations, every improvement made the ship stronger, smarter, and more responsive. But word of his work had not gone unnoticed. Across the sector, rumors of a human rebuilding the legendary Titan's pride spread. Scavengers and minor warlords saw opportunity, hoping to seize the ship before Jaren could fully restore it. The first threat arrived unexpectedly. A small fleet of alien raiders, sleek and fast, slipped through the outer asteroid fields. Jaren was alerted by Veracor just moments before they opened fire. "They expect an abandoned ship," Jaren said quietly. "Let's show them humans are clever." He lured the fleet into the asteroid belt near the station, using the debris as cover. The raiders fired blindly, their energy blasts bouncing off jagged rocks. Jaren manipulated the Titan's pride using thrusters he had partially restored. Weaving the ship between asteroids and impossible patterns, the raiders struggled to keep up. Underestimating the agility of a ship operated by a human mind rather than a predictable AI. At the last moment, Jaren triggered magnetic grapplers and automated traps he had rigged within the station's structure. Several enemy vessels were disabled, their engines pulled into the gravity wells of large debris. The remainder fled, confused and beaten. Veracor's voice was calm, but carried what could almost be interpreted as respect. "Your tactics exceed traditional combat logic. Human improvisation effective." Jaren chuckled. "I told you never underestimate humans." The battle proved two things. First, that even partially restored, the ship was already formidable. Second, that human ingenuity, strategy, improvisation, quick thinking could surpass raw technological power as repairs continued. Jaren faced another challenge: ethical decisions. The Titan's pride had been built as a superweapon. Its power was immense, capable of destroying entire fleets or even terraforming a planet. Jaren knew that if he fully restored it and deployed its weapons recklessly, countless lives could be lost. Yet, he also realized that its potential could serve as a deterrent, a symbol that humans could protect themselves and their allies. He spent long hours consulting with Veracor, analyzing simulations and hypothetical scenarios. "Power is useless without responsibility," Jaren said one night, staring at the holographic display of the ship. "If I use it carelessly, I become the thing I never wanted to be, a tyrant." Veracor remained silent for a moment before responding. "Your logic aligns with the ethical parameters embedded in your species' moral frameworks. Caution is advised. Repairing the weapon systems required careful ingenuity. Many components were lost or damaged beyond repair." But Jaren adapted technology scavenged from alien ships he had encountered in the past. He engineered energy cannons capable of precision strikes and developed defensive protocols that allowed the ship to anticipate threats. Each system was tested in simulations, with Jaren refining algorithms, adjusting power flow, and constantly pushing the ship closer to full operational status. It was during one of these simulations that the next threat arrived: a fleet of alien warships. far larger than the scavengers who had attacked before. They moved with coordinated precision, clearly experienced in warfare. Their goal was not just to seize parts, but to eliminate the human who dared awaken the legendary Titan's pride. The Jerin's mind raced. The ship was still incomplete. Full weapons and shields were not yet operational, but he refused to surrender. He devised a plan that relied not on firepower alone, but on human creativity. He reprogrammed the ship's auxiliary thrusters to create sudden, unpredictable movements. Using remote-controlled drones, he mimicked the ship's signature in multiple locations, confusing the enemy fleet. Then he activated hidden electromagnetic pulses he had integrated into the hull, temporarily disabling sensors of approaching ships. The aliens had expected a slow, predictable target. Instead, the Titan's pride moved like a phantom, striking weak points and forcing the fleet into chaos. Jerin's unconventional tactics allowed him to escape the initial engagement unscathed, proving again that human cunning could outmatch brute force. After the battle, he spent days repairing minor damage. He examined every panel, every circuit, every component of the ship, learning more about its design than any other human alive. Each discovery fueled his confidence. He was not just restoring a starship, he was redefining what humans could achieve in the galaxy during quiet moments. He wandered through the ship's corridors, imagining the stories of the crew who had once served here. The personal quarters were frozen in time. Small mementos left behind. Books, holographic messages, and pictures of distant worlds. Jerin realized that the ship's power came not just from engines or weapons, but from the humans who had once sailed it. Their courage and ingenuity were embedded in the very framework of the vessel. He also formed an unlikely bond with Veracor, the AI. Initially suspicious of human intervention, began to trust him. It assisted in complex repairs, offered strategic advice, and even initiated subtle improvements of its own. Jerin marveled at the collaboration. A human and an ancient AI working together to restore a legend. Who would have thought? Jerin said one evening, standing in the observation deck and watching the dying star cast amber light across the hull. A human mechanic and an old AI, bringing a forgotten starship back to life. Veracor's response was quiet but meaningful. Humans exceed expectations. Ingenuity observed. Efficiency proven. Potential limitless. Jerin smiled. It was affirmation enough. He continued working, scavenging for parts from nearby abandoned stations, integrating alien designs and innovating solutions no one else could imagine. The ship grew stronger each day. Engines purred, shields hummed, and the weapons array, though incomplete, began to respond with precision. Yet Jerin knew the true test had not yet come. Other factions in the galaxy would notice the Titan's pride and seek to control it. He would need more than skill. He would need courage, strategy, and the creativity that defined humans. He stood on the bridge, hands resting on the cold metal console, staring at the stars beyond. The galaxy was watching, whether it knew it or not, and Jerin Kale, the human mechanic who had dared to awaken a sleeping giant, was ready to prove that humanity's greatest weapon was not brute strength, but ingenuity, resilience, and courage. The Titan's pride was no longer abandoned. It was awakening. Jerin Kale stood on the bridge of the Titan's pride, the once-abandoned starship now alive with energy. Lights hummed along the hull, shields shimmered with protective energy, and the engines, fully restored, glowed with power. Every system worked in harmony, a testament to human ingenuity and determination. Veracor's voice, calm and precise, filled the bridge, ship fully operational. All systems within optimal parameters. Human modifications exceed original design efficiency. Jerin smiled, running his hand over the console. Not just human modifications, old friend. This is human creativity. That's what makes it unstoppable. The galaxy, however, did not wait for Jerin to celebrate. Intelligence reports flickered on the holographic display. Fleets from several alien factions were converging on his location. Word of the Titan's pride had spread. Now powerful warlords and commanders sought to claim it for themselves. They want to take it. Jaren said, staring at the star charts. "They think it's just a weapon, but they don't understand. It's more than that," Viewership responded. "Recommendation: defensive strategy and tactical ingenuity required. Direct combat not advised." Jaren nodded. He had faced smaller fleets before, but this was the ultimate test. The Titan's pride was powerful, but it was still only one ship against entire armadas. He needed to prove that humans could turn ingenuity into their greatest weapon. He activated the ship's adaptive cloaking system, an innovation of his own design. The massive vessels seemed to disappear against the backdrop of space, leaving only faint energy signatures. Jaren then deployed dozens of small drones, each equipped with holographic emitters to mimic the ship's signature. The enemy fleets approached, unaware that the Titan's pride had multiplied itself into dozens of false targets. When the alien fleets fired, their weapons struck decoys, harmlessly detonating in empty space. Jaren used the distraction to maneuver his ship into the center of an asteroid field, weaving expertly between massive rocks. Enemy vessels, relying on sensors and predictable tactics, struggled to keep up. "Let's give them a lesson in human creativity," Jaren said with a grin. He engaged the ship's auxiliary systems in a way never intended by its original designers. Magnetic grapples and repurposed tractor beams pulled debris from the asteroids, sending massive rocks hurtling toward the enemy ships. Energy pulses disabled sensor arrays, and automated drones launched sudden attacks on critical systems. Every move was calculated, yet improvisational, a dance of strategy and adaptation that left the enemy disoriented. Even the AI seemed impressed. "Your tactics are unorthodox. Efficiency and effectiveness are remarkable."
All right.
Jaren chuckled. "I told you. Human ingenuity always finds a way." By the time the alien fleets realized what was happening, it was too late. Several ships had been disabled, and the rest were retreating in confusion. The Titan's pride had proven that raw power alone did not define dominance. Creativity, strategy, and adaptability could turn the tide against overwhelming odds, with the immediate threat neutralized. Jaren focused on the ship's true potential. He accessed the ancient blueprints hidden deep within Vera core and discovered the ship's original mission, to act as a superweapon capable of ending wars. Its energy arrays, fully restored, could destroy entire fleets or entire planetary defenses. Jaren hesitated, staring at the controls. The temptation to use such power was immense, but he knew that power without responsibility could lead to devastation. Humans had always been capable of both creation and destruction. He chose creation. "I won't use this to destroy," he whispered. "This ship is a guardian, not a weapon of war." He reprogrammed the weapon systems to operate defensively, capable of neutralizing threats without unnecessary destruction. Shields were prioritized, energy arrays calibrated for precision strikes, and drones programmed for interception and disruption rather than lethal force. Every modification reflected Jaren's human values: courage, ingenuity, and responsibility as he worked. A new fleet appeared on the sensors, this one led by the most formidable alien commander he had ever faced. Their ships were massive, armed with devastating weaponry, and clearly experienced in galactic warfare. They had come to take the Titan's pride by force. Jaren didn't panic. Instead, he relied on the lesson he had learned from the first attack. Human ingenuity could overcome raw strength. He deployed a combination of decoys, cloaking maneuvers, and environmental manipulation, using nearby moons and asteroid fields to create unpredictable battlefields. When the battle began, it was chaotic. Lasers streaked across space, explosions rocked distant rocks, and the hum of the Titan's pride vibrated through every corridor. But Jaren remained calm, guiding the ship with precision. He anticipated enemy movements, exploiting their assumptions and rigidity. While the alien commander relied on sheer firepower, Jaren relied on imagination and adaptability. The battle raged for hours. At one point, Jaren had the ship loop through a gravity well, using its pull to sling debris at the enemy fleet with incredible force. He activated energy pulses that temporarily disabled multiple ships at once. Every move was calculated, It innovative a display of creativity and courage that no alien intelligence could predict. Eventually, the alien commander realized that brute force alone would not prevail. The fleet began to retreat, battered, confused, and unable to predict the human-operated vessel. Jaren allowed them to escape, showing mercy, but leaving them with a clear message. Humans were not to be underestimated. When the battle ended, Jaren surveyed the ship. The Titan's Pride had survived unscathed, fully operational, and now carried the reputation of a vessel that could not be defeated by strength alone. Across the galaxy, rumors spread of a human who had restored a legendary starship and used it to outsmart entire fleets. Veracor's voice filled the bridge. Human creativity and strategy have proven superior to conventional military power. Potential recognized. Legacy secured. Jaren smiled, exhausted but satisfied. It's not about power, he said. It's about what you do with it. That's what makes humans, humans. Over the next weeks, he worked to finalize the ship's restoration. Engines roared with unprecedented energy. Weapon systems were fully operational in their defensive mode, and the AI integrated seamlessly with his own instincts and decisions. The Titan's Pride had become more than a ship, was a symbol of human ingenuity, courage, and determination. Jaren also reached out to nearby colonies, offering assistance and protection. Word of his deeds inspired hope. Communities once fearful of alien raids now saw humans as capable of leadership and ingenuity. The Titan's Pride became not just a weapon, but a guardian of peace. A shining example of what one human could achieve against impossible odds. One evening, standing on the observation deck, Jaren watched the stars. He remembered the first day he had boarded the abandoned vessel, thinking only of parts and repairs. Now he had awakened a legend, created a symbol, and demonstrated the true potential of humanity. Veracor spoke quietly, almost reverently. Human potential is remarkable. You have transformed a relic into a force for good. This vessel is no longer abandoned. It embodies your species' greatest strengths. Jaren nodded, a smile playing across his face. It does, and it's just the beginning. Humans have more to show the galaxy. More to create, more to protect, and more to inspire. The Titan's Pride floated silently in space, no longer a forgotten relic, but a living testament to human ingenuity. Its engines pulsed, shields shimmered, and weapon systems, though capable of immense power, were ready to defend rather than destroy. It was a reminder that humans, small in number compared to alien empires, could achieve greatness through creativity, courage, and determination. As Jaren set a course for uncharted space, he knew that challenges would come. Other factions would test his resolve, and threats would continue to emerge. But he also knew that humanity had a secret weapon that no alien could replicate: imagination, resilience, and the willingness to face impossible odds with clever solutions. The galaxy had seen a new kind of hero, a human who turned a rusted, forgotten starship into a symbol of hope and power. The Titan's Pride would sail among the stars, a living legend, and a reminder that humanity could rise from the ashes of the past to shape the future. Jaren Kale, the mechanic who dared to dream, had proven it.